Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday morning trading room. All right, the market's just opening up here. This, of course, the NASDAQ that you're looking at here, and a really quick overview for those of you new in the trading room. We've got the Hawk Micro Scalper here in the top left corner, Falcon Swing Trader top right, Eagle Trend Trader bottom left, and the Raptor on the bottom right. I'm following the NASDAQ on this monitor. I also have crude oil and the euro, that's the 6E open, but please feel free to request a market if there's something you would like to see. All right, so yesterday's session fairly bearish overall, and through the overnight seemed to waffle a little bit sideways. We are bouncing off the bottom end of this overnight trading range, trying to get here toward the top. But right now we're definitely looking like we're in a bit of a sideways trading pattern. Oh my goodness, somebody's texting my wife's phone already this morning. She won't be happy about that. She's not up just yet. It's probably in regards to our grandson's Christmas pageant this evening. Looking forward to that. All right, here we're getting a first micro-macro cross on the Hawk. That is a valid scalp signal. We're only a couple minutes into the session, so it's up to you whether or not you want to try some of these early signals. Yesterday we saw some huge follow-through out of the open. For me personally, I'm a little bit more cautious those first few minutes. I know Keith and Mark have been doing very well trading those early signals. Like I say, it is a valid signal, however, and it came back with the macro pullback. So things shaping up to be a little bit more bullish on the Hawk scalper. Working a possible late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. The Falcon late filter entry signal occurs when the filter goes out of sync. It has to come back into sync. There it is. Trend line never changes color. So this is also a valid late filter entry signal on your Hawk, or pardon me, your Falcon Swing Trader. You do have the opportunity for what we refer to as a second push entry, namely you allow the signal to engage, then you see where the limit of that signal is, and you would place your entry above that zone. So what you're looking for is some renewed momentum to get you into this trade. The Eagle, still pretty neutral, and the Raptor kind of neutral as well. It looks like we're in the middle of this overnight range as well, and that's always a tricky place to try to trade from. Okay, getting a cloud crossover signal now on the Raptor. And that's looking like it's getting some very good follow through. So that Falcon late filter entry, the #1 signal, and actually a 4-arrow consolidation this eventually developed into on the Hawk. All three of those in sync. Oh, actually the Eagle also had an in sync signal. So all 4 of the trading tools on board right now. And this area that we rallied off of, this 6240 zone, if you remember, that was influential yesterday. In fact, you can still see the remnants from yesterday's session. This was yesterday's low. So that caused a rather significant rally yesterday, and it looks like it's trying to do the same again today. We'll see whether or not the buyers can hold on. While we're waiting, and again, please feel free to ask any questions you might have. I'll do my best to answer. Oh, nicely done, Mark. Mark's got his big boy pants on this morning. He went in heavy on that late filter entry signal with 6 cars, 6 contracts right here. Just picked up 979 on that late filter signal with 6 cars. One and done, Mark says. And well done. Good job. Well, now you can take the rest of the day off. Oh, speaking of days off, I am out of town and without, well, with a spotty internet connection next week. I'm not going to be able to make the morning session. So I'll remind you again toward the end of the week, but just note to self, you'll be flying solo next week. Look at that rally. Wow. The buyers have come to do some serious business here today. Yeah, Steve says we need a guest host. Maybe Matt Lauer is available. I'll put the word out, see if he can make himself available. All right, well, it does look as though we have a little bit of an uptrend today, at least for the start of the day. Ideally, after a little run up like that, well, it's always tough to have the nerve just to jump on board. Here are some follow-up signals, by the way, which would allow you just to pile on and hold on. Stop placement is the tricky part. right? You can't run your stop too tight because there's a real possibility the market's going to try to get back here to the hard edge. And that's what I would be looking for, actually, is something resembling a little bit of a pullback, maybe a hard edge bounce. Oh, Julian's still quite bullish here this morning. He says he's got a target of 63.10. I could see that. That would put us kind of in the middle or near the middle of yesterday's trading range. Oh, Keith crushing it this morning. Keith picking up $2,250, and I'm done. Woohoo is right, Keith. Way to go, guys. So obviously Keith holding on a little bit longer. I'd be popping out too. Good job. Yeah, those early signals, you know, there's almost always momentum on the early signal. And that's, of course, what we would like to take advantage of. All right, maybe I'll hop on board some of those early signals. Then we can watch the market go the other way. Mark says it looks like 6,300. That number is starting to pull the market back up again. I showed this the other day as well, but 6,300 kind of falling right in the middle of a lot of activity for the last few days. So you can see the market spending some time around 6,300. It did stray. Spend some more time around 6,300. Again, goes below. Oh, this time it got well below, but it does come back. There we go. And if you go back even further, you'll see that 6,300 has been a very popular number. All right, so here on the Raptor now, the Raptor being a little bit early with the sell. This is a counter trend signal, of course. This is the number 2 signal. It tends to develop when the band gets quite wide. And we've seen a test of the extreme, in this case the extreme being the high, and the market is starting to fail. As with all counter trend signals, there's a trade-off. The trade-off is you get to take the trade with less risk, especially if you go, say, and you're only taking a single. You can take the trade with smaller risk, but in order to do that, you're giving up some of the probability. What do I mean by that? Well, it's more probable that the market's going to head higher than it is going to head lower. How can I say that? Well, because the trend is up. Yeah, like Julian even makes a remark here, no big sellers just yet. So it's always something to bear in mind when you take a counter trend signal. Sure, the signal prompt is there. It is a valid signal, but there's the trade-off, right? We can get by. We know exactly where we need to cover the trade. We need to cover the trade above this high. You know, looking at a buy signal, where do I put my stops? You know, at the very least the hard edge, ideally down here somewhere. So there's always a trade-off when you're trading. What are you giving up in order to get something else? Maybe I should try to run this one out. No, I always say that. I always say I'm going to run it out and then the market, oh, I'm going to get tagged a break even regardless. All right. Well, there you go. At least it got into some profit. Had I taken the signal on the hash mark or just a tick earlier, oh yes, I would have actually found my profit target. The hawk turning over here, getting a little bit more bearish already. We've got a first micro macro cross lower. Also a trend change signal here on the Falcon. So it's looking like we've got a few different opportunities to get short. Both these opportunities giving us second push entries. Again, you don't want to get too crazy on the short side. I can see a dream coming across here somewhere. Hey, way to go, Peter. You guys, I love reading about your trades here. Peter says, good morning, Eric. Just got stopped out with $700 of profit. Now I'm just going to listen to the godfather of DTS. I'm assuming that's me. There are a lot of tools at DTS. Which ones are your favorites? You can answer when it gets slow. Well, I do have my favorites. You do need to take this with a grain of salt because everybody's going to have their own favorites. My personal favorite is the Hawk Scalper. I really like the way the Hawk Scalper has quality signals, especially something here like the first micro macro cross signal. You guys have heard me say before that I will take that first micro macro cross signal almost without exception, and I believe Mark is probably busy typing away saying that yeah, I really like that first micro macro cross as well. Just going back through your Hawk Scalper and highlighting your first micro macro cross signals, losing signals are going to be few and far between. So, you know, even if you just did your first micro macro cross and you scalped in and out on single contracts, there's 50, 100, 150, there's $200 right there. So I really like the Hawk. Now, as I said, it is a personal thing because Ray Burke, he never liked the Hawk. He was always a big fan of the Eagle. He says, Eric, I can't wrap my head around the Hawk. I don't know why you like it so much. All the tools are good. The single one I'm most comfortable with is the Hawk. And I suppose that stems back to when we did the profit runs. And I was trying to put a big number up on the board, the hawk is the one that's going to generate the most signals for you. It's just the nature of the programming. I am a big fan of the Raptor as well. I really like the signals that the Raptor comes up with. And again, I believe that there's a lot of quality signals in the Raptor. The signal prompts have certainly helped some of those signals slipping past you. But a lot of times with the Raptor, I just got to get out of my own way. The Raptor is maybe a little bit more subjective in that sometimes you got to take a look at the context that you're in, because you're going to hit these periods where the market's not doing anything and you're just generating signals all over the map. So you got to pay a little bit more attention maybe to your filter. Make sure your filter is not breaking up too much. Make sure you don't get too many yellow bar clusters. Make sure you don't get too many signals without any follow through. So I really like the Raptor as well, and many times you'll see me default to the Raptor instead of the Falcon, and that's only because the Raptor and Falcon trades, the Falcon signal generation is the main engine behind the signal generation on the Raptor. So a lot of times you will see duplicate signals from the Falcon and the Raptor. Not always, mind you, but a lot of times. The Falcon, also a workhorse, especially trend change signals. So that first signal on the trend change. The late filter entry signal, again, one of those no-brainers. The Eagle, a very good tool. The Eagle is probably the one I use the least. And again, I think it just stems from the profit run, where I was generating more trades, trying to capitalize on more signals. That's not the Eagle's strong suit. The Eagle's strong suit is to try to give you a trend signal, and then you hold on. But the Eagle is still great for checking your bias, checking your overall bias. So we've obviously got a bull trend. The market now back into the hard edge. Looks like we're going to produce a hard edge bounce signal. The red bar buy. And here it comes. There's the red bar buy signal. Oh, you stinker, you're going to run away on me. The Eagle sometimes as well, because of the larger brick size, is going to require or be a little bit more difficult stop placement wise. But to answer your question, Peter, my go-to, probably the Hawk and the Raptor. Yeah, Mark confirming, he says he likes the first micro-macro cross on the Hawk for sure, and the late filter and trend change signals on the Falcon. Those would be his personal favorites. Keith asks, how do you use those two in conjunction? Well, you have to remember that the programming, well, the Raptor actually adopts some of the Hawk programming as well, but for the most part, the programming behind all these tools is different. The Raptor being a little bit of a hybrid. So I actually tried to just trade them separately. If I'm getting a first micro-macro cross signal on the Hawk, as I am here, I'll look at taking that first micro-macro cross signal. I may glance down here at the Raptor and say, oh, okay, it looks like we're bouncing off of the hard edge. There could be some bullish follow-through. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll take that first micro-macro cross. Or I'll look here at the Eagle and make sure I'm bullish. Likewise with the Falcon. Oh, it looks like a trend change. Okay, here's a little bit of a pullback. It looks like the Falcon's coming out now with a buy signal. So I do like to see all the tools in sync with each other, and see now the Raptor coming into sync as well, producing the cloud crossover signal. But for the most part, I do treat each tool separately. The nice thing about the Hawk as well is because it has a scalping target, it's kind of like a feel-good tool. You feel smart using the Hawk because there's very few losing trades. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use a tighter profit objective on the other tools. By all means, you certainly can. And sometimes the market conditions demand it. But it's a real confidence booster to have, you know, a lot of winning trades under your belt. You do need to find what works for you, what you're comfortable with. So there was a nice little hard edge bounce. I got a little bit late to that, but that has found its profit objective. I think, you know, the key is finding what you're comfortable with, and then it comes down to logistics. It comes down to controlling your risk and controlling your frequency. We're all going to take a bad trade from time to time, but you will take more bad trades the more often you trade, if that makes sense. Okay, is that going to be a double top? We're back up to the highs of the morning. Hit it right on the number. Morning session almost ready to expire, or the opening range, I should say. Yeah, Keith says, I believe everyone should own Profit Finder. It definitely helps, and I would agree with that. Christmas is coming. I don't know. I know Adam had a bit of a Thanksgiving promotion going on, along with the Cyber Monday, Black Friday kind of deals. Hey, nicely done, Mark. Mark says it's hard to be done when opportunities keep jumping out at you. Just picked up another 275 on 2 cars with that trend change signal. 1222 for the day so far on 2 trades. You know, the nice thing about limiting the number of times you trade as well is you owe less in commissions and fees. These guys that try to be like the high frequency traders, I know if you're trading, you know, a couple dozen times a day, you can go to your broker and get a couple more cents shaved off of your commissions, but exchange fees aren't going to change that much. And you may end up suffering the fate of 1,000 paper cuts. Yeah, like Mark says, those high-frequency traders, they make their broker happy. You'll get a really nice Christmas card, maybe even a fruit basket or some flowers. I wasn't paying attention. This number 3 signal that we just got here on the Raptor, obviously some very nice follow-through. Also highlighting the evils of counter-trend trading. The part of the reason this blew up like this to the upside is because the counter-trend signal failed. There was some additional selling going here on the highs. The sellers had their stops just above here, so around the 62.85 area, and then when the market engaged those, it went boom, boom, boom. Yeah, Stephen, definitely correct here. Stephen writes, we went through a bad trading period in August, September, and half of October, but now the market is trading better. This is definitely more normal, and I'm using air quotes when I say that, normal. The market is, the volatility has picked up again. We're seeing some better ranges. August tends to be a dull month anyways because of summer. But September, October, most of November, I can't explain it. Okay, we're getting some bigger swings coming in now. The hawk drifting into yellow bars once again. So we had a pullback here that got into yellow bars, developed a red bar buy. Really good follow through from that. But we're back into yellow bars. This is kind of suggesting some weakness, that maybe the buyers are starting to lose their grip. Not entirely. The market still owes us a test of the extreme before we can get more serious about a reversal, maybe even a trend line break. Peter writes, profit finder for Christmas just went on the list. I'm putting some of my profits to other DTS products, but in all honesty, it's your knowledge that has really helped me. I now have a journal and no more than 3 trades per day. Well, that's very nice of you to say, Peter. I appreciate the compliment. But you guys are doing the heavy lifting. I'm just doing my best to point you in the right direction. So kudos to you to actually doing some of the things I'm suggesting. All right, the hawk's still sitting here on yellow bars. Another possible trend change here in the Falcon. I don't know if I want to get too crazy about getting short just yet. Okay, so that trend change signal evaporating. Gonna get another little bullish push here. Note here on the Raptor, we're producing a buy signal near the hard edge. It didn't intersect the hard edge, which is why we didn't produce a number 3 signal like we did back here, where prices actually got into the first hard edge. These are going to be what we refer to sometimes as an advanced signal. And it's a little bit more of a judgment call. You're looking at this and you're trying to determine, is that close enough to be considered a hard edge bounce or not? If you're not sure, of course, there's always the second push entry opportunity, where the signal engages, we place the entry above the signal. We're starting to break down here a little. All right, so I've got a second push opportunity to the short side now. So the signal has engaged, the market is flinching a little bit here. Yeah, Julian says first failed high. That is correct. That's what I'm thinking too, Julian, but I could be a little bit early again. The E-mini was a little bit more bearish yesterday than the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ, I think, was one of the stronger ones. I think we can safely say the market is in a bit of a transition type mode. Here comes another hard edge buy, hard edge bounce. That's the number 3 signal. A number 2 signal now after this number 3 could make for a more reliable short. And we've got the test of the extreme. So what I'm looking for now is the warning dot. Once I get that warning dot, I can get ready. See, there it is. There's the warning dot. The signal has printed. I probably have time to get an order in like so. Otherwise, I was ready just to hit the sell button if the market started to head lower. Okay, a little bit risky, folks. My shorting into this rather strong uptrend. If you're looking for a trade to follow me in on, this may not be the one. Certainly if we can see the market trade, say back down here around the 62, 75, 76 area, we may be able to say the market's more bearish. But right now, yeah, Julian says still no big sellers. And I think that's obvious because we're getting a lot of support here off 62.82. Way to go, Julian. Julian says, I'm still long looking for 63.10. You know, if we bounce up from here, I think you're right. I think we're going to see a run at 6,300. All right, here we come with yet another sell signal. You can modify your trade to take this current bar into account. And maybe this one I will try to run out. Why don't we bring the break even down a little bit toward this 62.75 area. Target the hard edge, of course, and we have found the hard edge. Come on. Trying to entice a few more bears into the marketplace. Okay, got the break even. Now we're below 62.75. There's going to be a little bit of a reaction here, I think, as prices try to drift back down toward the primary resistance line. All right, it's probably time to get a little bit more aggressive here with a stop. No, they're going to tap me here. Okay. Not bad. Was able to squeak a couple extra dollars out of the trade, which is always nice. Okay, and it looks like we may get a cloud crossover signal here on the Raptor now. The Hawk also giving us a first micro-macro cross about the same time we were getting that number 2 signal that we engaged. The Falcon also trend change signals / late filter entry signals. So a few of the tools syncing up at that point. Okay, right now we're definitely in more of a bear trend. At least short term. Short term. When I say stuff like that, I'm always referring to the next 15, 20 minutes out. Oh, shoot. Looked away here for a second. Falcon giving us a late filter signal. The hawk here with a macro pullback. And the Raptor with an early cloud crossover signal. So the cloud's almost fully crossed. There's a little bit of a pullback. There's the signal. You have a chance at a second push entry on this signal. Stops need to go reasonably far back, I'm afraid. You can wait for the proper cloud crossover signal, which looks like it's going to develop on this red bar if the market continues lower from here. But there is an opportunity as well. The closer we get toward these support zones, the more likely it is that we may see a little bit of a rally. All right, and the signal now flipping over, so we can cancel that. Got ourselves a tight little trading range. All right, and now the proper cloud crossover signal here on the Raptor. Cloud's fully crossed. You've got a chance at a second push entry opportunity. The signal engaging and then flinching a little bit. The downtrend is still emerging, though. This is not one of those warm, fuzzy kind of trades. Sometimes those have the best follow through, but there you go. All right, the signal reversing on itself, so I'm going to cancel that out right now. Well, we're kind of waffling a little bit here. Yeah, Mark says oil report in 10 minutes. I might pull that up. Oil has been so bland lately. But we can certainly have a look. All right, so here's crude oil. I've actually got it on my faster settings right now. And I suppose you could bracket the high of the morning, the low of the morning. We're trading somewhere in the middle. We do have looks like a little bit of a bearish slant to the market after a rally from a couple of days ago. All right, we'll put that away. We'll come back to that in a couple minutes. In the meantime, Scott's asking Eric, could you pop open the settings on your trade manager? I had my targets show up for one day, but today my targets disappeared again when I hit the buy or sell. Make sure your target is 100%. If your target is anything but 100%, you may not get your target when you hit your buy or sell button. Also helps to have stops enabled. And this way, if you hit your buy button, you'll also get your profit target. All right, so I'm guessing that's probably the culprit. Oh, Scott says no. All right, well, let's take a look then at the trade manager. I'm not sure what settings you would like to see because I haven't really set anything as far as profits go, profit targets. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Here I have my T1 percentage at 50%. I have my T1 target at 20 ticks. Oh, go to the top. I haven't, the only thing I've changed here is the invalid trail stop. By default, it's set at 10 ticks. I find that too tight. So you may want to expand that one a little bit. Remember, it's only your initial stop. You can always adjust it. The idea here is not to get stopped out prematurely. My break even is the default 15 tick. I have turned it on. But other than that, it's pretty much stock. Plot strategy, just the default ATR. Like I said, I really haven't changed anything other than preset profit targets. And the cosmetics, my typeface is a little bigger. Here's something you can do. You can always remove your trade manager and then double click and add it back. If it's doing something a little bit funny, sometimes that will fix it up. And rebooting your NinjaTrader is usually a good way to solve any problems you may be having as well. And if it's still not acting right after that, then please send us an email, either myself or better yet, Ben, because I'm probably going to forward it to Ben anyhow. He knows the tech stuff better than I do. Oh, Scott says Ben's got no ideas. Are you in sim mode right now, Scott? Yeah, I know. Sim or real, no target show. Well, what I wanted you to do is I was going to get you to try something, but I wanted to make sure you were in sim before I told you to do it. All right, so your trade manager is acting up. So right click on your chart, go to your strategies window, click your trade manager, and then remove it. Now you can double click on your trade manager and load your template. Hopefully you have a template. Otherwise, you'll need to make your adjustments. Select your account if you have more than one to choose from, and then apply it all. Okay, now make sure you have your stops enabled. Make sure you have your target set at 1, and go from risk percent mode to manual mode. All right, so far so good. Now hit buy or sell. What do we think? Is it going to go up? See if you don't get your profit target. I'm wondering whether the risk percent mode is, oh, no, even risk percent mode, it should give you a profit target. In manual mode, you should get a profit target for sure. Just see if that works. Oh, okay, good. Scott says I always have manual set as a default. Hopefully that will clear things up for you. Yeah, Scott says, ask for some of Ben's check. Yeah, Ben, you owe me. Oh, he's bailed me out lots. Okay, we're starting to get a few more signals developing here. We're starting to get a little bit of overlap too. You see how each of these rallies, they're making less progress. Julian wrote as well, it looks like some sellers are coming in, and the price would confirm that. We're starting to get, like I say, a little bit more overlap, a little bit more sideways action. hawk producing quite a few yellow bars. Okay, there's a soft edge sell. I'm actually going to try to short this guy. Not that I'm just crazy on the short side today, but the market does seem to be struggling to get higher, so I will welcome the opportunity to try to sell it. There's the soft edge sell signal. And again, I'm being a little bit more aggressive on this. Come on. I'm going to adjust my break even up. So on the close of this bar, if it closes low, I'll get the break even. Come on. There we go. All right. Now they can do what they want. Ideally, they want to go down here to 62.73. Lock in a few dollars here on my break even. Come on. Hooray! Hooray for me. The market does seem to be slowing a little bit, so I'm just as happy to take the profit. And not a bad morning so far, all things considered. Trading single contracts, we are up about $400. And we got a little serious, or more serious, sideways drift going on. So a little bit of a bounce off of the trendline support. Our eagle band has gotten very narrow, so that tells us there's not much momentum in the marketplace. Julian says, no follow through with bigger buyers. I was looking for 67. You're probably going to get it, Julian. 67, if we look at what other traders are thinking, and we draw a fib level here. 62.65 would be a 50% retracement. I think that's very feasible. There you go, you're almost there. Trading 69. There you go, 68. Good job, Julian. Short from 81.25. Well, you tag 67. There you go. So now that we're back at that halfway point, probably going to see a little bit of buying come back into the market. Great morning, though. It's so much easier trading when the signals actually give us some follow-through. Hey, way to go, Julian says. Took half off at 68, and now 59 for the second half. Good job. Here we go. Prices trickling lower. And this now, that reaction to the 50% level that everybody knows is there. Well, you're welcome, Norelli. Norelli writes, today I understand somehow yesterday I was first day, but thank you very much. Well, you're very welcome. And please, for those of you new in the trading room, I encourage you to ask questions. There are no dumb questions. If you've been in the trading room anytime at all, I don't annoy easily. So ask away, ask whatever you like. Mark writes, what's the meaning of life? Sure, let's start off with an easy one. Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why is the water in the bathroom always colder than the water in the kitchen? All right, so what's going on here now? It looks as though the sellers made their move lower. We're getting a hard edge sell signal now, so whenever we encounter the hard edge on the Raptor, we're going to anticipate some sort of reaction, and we are getting that right now. I'm still a little bit leery to the short side because of all the buying that occurred earlier this morning. So I was just going to point out you may want to take a second push entry on this signal, which would have engaged the signal right now. And hopefully the market will turn lower one more time, and that should get us down to our high probability profit objective, which would have been somewhere down here around the 62, 63 zone. Yeah, Mark says life is not having to work for someone else ever again. That's a pretty good start. All right, we'll put that on the shelf for now. We are seeing some bullishness come back, which will tend to happen around the middle of the trading range. Something to keep in mind. You know, this is your daily range right here. Whenever you find yourself trading near the middle of the range, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult, just because it's such a balance point. And what did I say the 50% level was? 62, 64, something like that. So long as you find yourself in the middle of this trading range, you'll still get viable signals. It's just that it's easier to sell the top end of the range. It's easier to buy the bottom end of the range, because that's where all the buyers and sellers are hanging out. The middle of the range, a little bit more neutral. So a little note to self: when prices happen to be trading near the middle of the range, sometimes a little extra caution is in order. Julian crushing it today. Says I'm out at 67 for the second half, over 10K today. Nicely done, Julian. Way to go. Done for today. See you tomorrow. You bet, Julian. I'll be here. Nice job. All right. Well, we're getting that first, or we got that first micro macro cross here on the Hawk. Late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. It didn't print as a number 2 signal, but it is a number 2 signal right here on the Raptor. The reason it didn't print was the clouds were still a little bit jumbled, but the price activity itself is there, right? So as you become more comfortable with your tools, you'll be able to spot these things a little bit easier, even without the signal prompts. So here's a little bit of a counter trend, or pardon me, the trend, the counter trend, the retest, and then the failure. And this came after a number 3 signal. Those number 2 signals, or opportunities that print after a number 3 signal, tend to be a little bit more reliable. And we had a little bit of follow through. Although right now it does look as though we are just going to be in a sideways drift. Okay, the hawk working maybe a 4-arrow consolidation. The raptor may give us a trend change signal here to the upside. Just looking here at the eagle. Sideways channel, maybe. Well, I don't know if we're going to get another trade off here this morning, but if we do, it's going to have to be above those highs. Above these highs right here. This little swing high. 62.81.5. Got to get above there. Okay, the hawk now into a macro pullback. The falcon just giving us our basic trend line touch. The eagle very neutral. Maybe slightly bearish even. And the raptor trying to give us that number 1 signal. All right, well, we're almost to the top of the hour. The market could be getting a little bit thin. Lunch hour just around the corner. Yeah, Scott, you're going to have to give Ben the heads up on that. Send it to Adam and Ben. Scott writes, okay, some info on the targets not shown in the trade manager. If I change it to start in manual mode rather than percent mode, when I changed it to manual, my targets would go away. Using a template, setting the targets came back after resetting it to a saved setting. Way to go, Mark. Mark says, as I've sat here watching the late filter entry signals just coming in, I just took my fourth profitable trade for today, total of 1865. Nicely done, Mark. Staying with trend has been my friend today, one of my best days so far, but I've had enough excitement for one day. You don't want to spoil a day like that. No, sir. Anytime you can take $1,800 out of the market, go buy yourself a Starbucks coffee and give yourself a pat on the back. A little extra whipped cream on the top of that Frappuccino. Oh no, you're in cold country as well. Throw a little whipped cream on your latte this morning. A macchiato with extra caramel. Wow, I thought we might get one more signal here before we wrap things up this morning, but things kind of grinding to a bit of a halt. I think we're going to pack things up for now, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. If you have any questions, please type away. Otherwise, we'll call it a morning. If you are going to stay with the markets, I can see another run at 6,300. I can see the market trying to take out the highs of the morning. I don't know if they'll be successful with it. Or whether we're just going to move sideways between 62.90 and 62.60, give or take a couple of ticks. Closing comment here from Mark. Just a note, I always start my trade manager in risk mode and then switch to manual mode after it's open. Never had an issue doing it that way. Might be worth a practice to try. So there's a little something you may want to try, Scott, as well. All right, we will talk to you tomorrow. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Bye for now.